Willie Taggart gets a full shot at National Signing Day this time around. Obviously, had just gotten the job 1 year ago with the early signing period in December for the first time and had to hustle to try to pull together a class and made a nice dash to the finish line. We obviously are on this early period right here in December for 2019's class at Florida State. We got James Coleman on the line from Fifth Quarter College Football and also Sports Den Live. James, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good. I'm probably one of the more cool, calm guys in the Seminole fan base right now, but everybody else is Chicken Little. The sky's falling.
So, yeah, what is everybody upset about? Because I had heard some of those comments online earlier today, and I expected to see a class that was 35th in the country. It's number 14, according to 247 Sports.
And still ahead of guys who had really good days, like with the Florida Gators and the University of Miami, whose classes essentially imploded. I got to take my shots at those guys anytime I get a chance. So if you haven't talked to Cam Underwood yet, you just ask Cam, how does it feel to win the battle but lose the war? But no, I think a lot of it has to do with our major guys haven't signed yet. So you got Travis J, Akeem Dent, Nick Cross, Brandon Gant. Those guys we're still waiting on them to Quayshawn Fuller, who I believe may still be signing today. But these are guys who we fully expected to commit and sign, but just have not done it. So that's really the major thing. But also the Sam Howell saga and losing Walt Bell, how it happened. We didn't get our iPhone note. Thank you, Seminole fan base, for all your support during my commitment. But God's plan told me, or God's blessings are going with me to North Carolina. It just kind of came out the blue, and it's offensive. Like, I joke with people, I don't believe in atting or coming at recruits because their decision is their decision. But I'm offended. So, I don't like Tim Brewster because he left with Jimbo. But I also they've won 3 games in 2 years, man. Come on, bro. I feel offended as a dope boy. So, but then again, he's going on and living his dream. And Rambo, Derek Hunter left to go to be with Jimbo Fisher, and that was somebody we were kind of ready to get. His recruitment, and then even Howard's recruitment to the end became a little bit too much for a lot of fans to stomach. Just the diva, But hey, at the end of the day, signing day is fun. There is no better cake in the world than signing day cake. It's delicious. I still remember my Florida State signing day cake. So, but we had a good one. 14th in the nation, like you said. I believe when Willie signs a full class, we will be a top 10 class. We will, trust me, we are going to sign more than I think the 18 commits that we have currently right now, or maybe it's 19. We'll end up signing like 26, and we'll be ranked top 10.
So it sounds like it from the guys that you just listed, and based on what I know about their star rankings, if they all come into the fold, are most of those guys you're just waiting on signing, or they're on the fence and they haven't? The report is that they haven't committed, that they haven't decided.
They're still on the fence. Dent has flirted with Alabama, but some of my friends with Alabama say he's probably not a take for them at this point. But there's somebody who could come in, but it's going to be very difficult to get Akeem Dent, especially with his brother being on Florida State's roster right now. Nick Cross, the flirtation with he's recruiting for Florida State, and that's the other thing too. These guys aren't just sitting here saying, hey, we're not going to sign and being quiet. Like, they're actively trying to tell other people to commit and come on board. Like, one of the things what happened with Justin Fields yesterday, Nick Cross, Brandon Gant, Akeem Dent, a lot of these guys were actively saying, come on, Justin Fields. In fact, they retweeted something from Sam Howell's commitment saying, it's okay, we're getting Justin Fields anyway. So, I mean, that's the kind of guys that these guys who are. So that's why they're still included in our class. And I don't really believe that they're going to lose. They're going to lose them out. But the things that you have to look at right now, the biggest thing right now that we also fans need to realize is that we touched on the weak points. We got depth at offensive line. We have some quality. And then we still have a very good shot with Will Putnam tomorrow at 1 p.m. So a lot of people are in Florida State's camp, and even Clemson and rivals in the 247s are giving the crystal balls to FSU for that. So you get a guy like that, that's going to probably bump you back to 11 automatically. But there is a really good chance for FSU with the offensive tackle from West Virginia, 5-star guy that we're lucky he kind of shut his recruitment down a little bit, and he is ready to cut it back on. A Darnell Wright, 6'6", 320. You get into something with a guy like that. Rajay Henderson, I believe is his name, and then Sheffield. Those are 2 wide receivers, as well as still being in it with Hazelwood. But I believe Hazelwood is going to Oklahoma. But we still have a really good shot with some skill guys. But you finish out strong with your offensive line class. You missed on Derek Hall, who stayed true to Auburn, but there's Henry, who's committed to Tennessee currently, that you have a strong shot to get. One of his best friends, actually, his mother is a Seminole booster who went to his junior college. Get a guy like that to prefer a walk-on spot. Sweeten the pot, make it good, let them be roommates or something like that. There's a lot of things that Tag can do. And oh, by the way, the quarterback position, which is still going to be good. We believe that a big name will come out maybe sometime tonight or tomorrow. Lance Legendry is still out there, I believe, and a lot of Florida State fans believe that he probably should have been the guy that we went after. And even in the quarterback situation, Sam Howell with Walt Bell in the relationship, the Howells were able to convince Willie Taggart to do something, which is a rookie mistake. He shouldn't have. I don't want to say it's a rookie mistake, but it's a small school recruiting mistake. And a lot of the wow and it's like they do the little things right on the recruiting trip. They find out what you like, what your favorite cookie is, your favorite cupcakes. They really wow you, and that's cool. And they go all eggs in one basket. The same thing they did with Kayvon Thibodeau, and it ended up Oregon just gave them too much that we couldn't counter. Same thing with maybe UNC did for Howell. But what Taz got to learn is that this is FSU. You can't expect to be treated like the Bamas, the Georgias of the world, outside of the bags, if you believe that or not, if you are out recruiting like that. So what Alabama does is they have their defensive ends. Number 1, 2, 3, let's say they have 10 D ends, and they're all top, and they're going to recruit all 10 defensive ends. So when you don't commit, then they're gonna they go somewhere else, scratch you off, go right to the next one, and then they're trying to. And if somebody's committed somewhere else, they're gonna keep that relationship and get them to try to delay it. See Bogle down in Miami, who everybody thought was going to Miami. Alabama's got them to hold off until February so they could try to work their magic. Georgia does the same thing. So when Justin Fields leaves, they go take a guy from Ohio State. Heck, Bama takes a guy from I forgot where they took that Bama loses a guy to Michigan. They go steal a safety from somebody else. It's just everybody's like, hey, we're going to play
Texas A&M.
Yeah, we're going to play big boy football here. So that's what Florida State's got to do. We went all in on one quarterback. We should have stayed true with Jaden Daniels, kept the relationship with him. Taysom Farrell-Monk, or whatever the heck his name is, with the Clemson commit, the quarterback from there. We pulled off. He went to Clemson. We went all in on Howell. Should have never done that. But again, Lance injuries are good, and a couple graduate transfers that are out there. Obviously, people talked about Justin Fields, Tate from Arizona, but when I called over there to Arizona, they didn't even know what I was talking about. They didn't even know he was possibly looking at transferring, so I might have messed that up for the nation. But it's kind of tough. Everybody's saying somebody's transferring and the coaches don't know. It's probably not going to happen. But there's an interesting thing that came out with Houston. And I want to say it's Derek King was a quarterback there. Yep. He got injured. And if you believe, which I believe, which we broke on Fifth Quarter College Football, that our new OC may have a relationship out there from the Houston area, and he recruits Texas. And that's really where fans need to look at now. It's when we solidify the offensive coordinator, who does the offensive coordinator? And then when we solidify the changes on the defensive coaching staff, what direction do the new coaches want to go? So that's where a lot of these names are going to be. You'll start hearing some names that FSU fans aren't familiar with because they're coming from the Midwest. They're coming from other areas, or there's some guys who were missed in the state of Florida, which isn't really as talent rich as it will be in 2020. 2020, when we're having these conversations, Florida State better do a better damn job of staying in state.
So when you talk the OC position, what names are being bandied about, and what role does that position take, and how is it different when you've got such a offensive minded coach who likes to have his hands all over the offense?
Right. I think Tag learned a lot of very difficult lessons in the first year. It's easy to be the offensive guy at South Florida when you don't have a lot of off the field things that you have to worry about, because the traditions aren't anywhere near as rich as they are at Florida State. Oregon, you're on the West Coast. Nobody really cares what you're doing at the end of the day. They've never won a national championship. They just don't want to lose. Like, they want to win. Phil Knight has, you are the Nike school. Phil Knight has expectations. Florida State, boy, did Willie Taggart walk into a lot of expectations. And, you know, when you really look back on it, and even what people are complaining about now, we don't have an offensive coordinator officially named. Trust and believe the class would not have stayed in the in the shape that it was in had we not had an offensive coach name. Like, you see what happened when Miami lost their defensive coordinator. The class imploded because there was no plan. So that's kind of what you see in this. But Tag learned that he's got to be a head coach. He's got to step back a little bit from the offense. He can have input, but he's got to let his OC be his OC. And what he's got to do is, in these next 2 to 3 years, really learn. And I believe it actually will be longer than that, because the OC that he's bringing in has some baggage that's going to prevent him from becoming that next great head coach for a while. He may probably need to go from an OC on college level to OC on an NFL level and be an NFL head coach. And that's Kendall Browse. I won't bury the lead. Kendall Browse will more than likely be our next offensive coordinator, and it's probably going to be announced after Houston plays in the Armed Forces Bowl against Army, I believe. So, and it's very many reasons for him to do that. Florida State's not in the bowl game. Houston is. You want to know how to make sure the offensive recruits see what the next stage in Florida State is going to be at? You better pray that Houston beats Army by 100. Like that, all that is showing off what the next step is, the next phase. But him and Clements are coming on board, and then Taggart has a familiarity. When he was trying to figure out lethal simplicity, he visited 2 schools. He visited Baylor. He visited Baylor. He visited Ole Miss with name escapes me right now. He just took the job at Richmond. Hugh
Freeze?
Hugh Freeze, yeah. So Hugh Freeze was the first offensive candidate. When Taggart was trying to learn, took his whole offensive staff there. He took his whole staff to Baylor to learn their version of the air raid spread concept. So this is actually a unique offensive concept. You think spread them out, throw it, but they've got some of the best run. Like, it's about 50-50 on the yards. Right around 300 yards passing, right around 300 yards rushing a game. So I'm actually very good. And it's what lethal simplicity was promised, or it has to be, because he left Baylor to go to FAU. The guys at FAU picked it up really quick and blew people out. Then he left FAU after a year to go to Houston, and Houston guys picked it up in 1 year very quick. Real quick, in his career as an offensive coordinator, he's had 8 games where his offense has been held under 30 points. FSU had 8 games under 30 points just last year. So, like, just to put things in perspective, and it wasn't just the big dogs. It was some of the cupcakes, too. We didn't really score very many points against anybody.
Got James Coleman on the line from Fifth Quarter College Football. Also join him on his podcast, Sports Den Live.
Going 5 days a week, January 2nd.
5 days a week?
Man, they're going to work. They're working me, man. I look Jamaican, but I'm not. But they work me like a Jamaican, man.
You're coming close to my schedule at this point. To your point, James, I heard a stat today on ESPN that Urban Meyer, your point being that national powers are coming into Florida and having their way, that Urban Meyer over the last 4 years has signed more top 100 players out of the state of Florida than Miami, Florida State, and Florida have.
Yeah. And a lot of that goes, I'll say this. Florida State under Jimbo, and this is why it was a tragic, and people are offended because we were ranked 60 when he left. Jimbo was an autopilot, and Jimbo used us just like Ohio State is a national program, Alabama. Jimbo used Florida State as a national program. There wasn't a player in the state of Florida that Jimbo, if Florida State wanted, that they could not get when Jimbo was here. Now Taggart has to win. Taggart had a great opportunity had FSU just even kept the bowl streak alive. So we were one win away from potentially being potentially cleaning up shop in the state of Florida. But I believe, like I said, and there's some things that I'm going to put out here in the next coming weeks while we don't have a lot of recruiting information going and all of the stuff has died down, is the Taggart needing to take a CEO approach and now needing to put guys like David Kelly into the general manager position to oversee the football program more and roster development more on an NFL level. Constantly evaluating what you have here, evaluating what's out there for recruiting, and evaluating what's out there on the transfer market. And I think FSU had an opportunity, but being too quick to hire forced David Kelly to go back onto the field, and it's hard to do all of those things. But what Florida State's got to do is to counteract some of that is you have to truly build the relationships and the rapport in the state of Florida. I'd give Tag these 2 classes and maybe even one some grace because he was out in Oregon, in California, and his board and the relationships that they built, he wanted to heavily lean on that. But now you're here in the state, you've got guys like John Heron, who we call Hova, who's in your department, who's from Miami, has tons of connections in the state of Florida. You've got guys like Trey Hackett. You got guys like David Kelly. I think Coach Hampton is going to take an off-the-field role too, focus more on recruiting as opposed to special teams. You're going to have guys who are paid highly to be able to put in top 5 classes, and now you're going to be held to those levels of expectations.
Got James Coleman on the line from Fifth Quarter College Football. Also join him on his soon-to-be nightly podcast, Sports Den Live. So, James, you named a handful of players that are going to be on the fence. If you could nab one that you don't want to let get away, one guy you really want, who would be that guy?
Yeah, one that we have to nab in these guys.
But whether that's based on a fit in terms of position that you really need or just talent, what guy don't you want to lose?
There's 1A is Travis J. From Madison County. He was a 3-star, but like his film it's just shows how shitty this ranking system is. Like if you don't go out to these camps and make it easy and available to these guys, they refuse to really break down film and what guys are really looking for. This is a kid who could play offense, defense, special teams, serve popcorn and hot dogs. I like his attitude, very old school, very physical, can play all 4 positions in the secondary. That's what you got. He's a Jalen Ramsey-esque type player. And he should probably be a 5-star if he were anywhere else other than Madison County. Led them to their 2nd straight state championship, I believe. And the other one is Nick Cross. I didn't like him at first. I thought he was trash. I thought he was overrated. I saw them play St. Thomas Aquinas in the first game. And instead of me looking, and his school is considered the St. Thomas Aquinas of the Maryland area. But instead of me realizing that he was playing against probably the number 95th ranked college in the nation in St. Thomas Aquinas, I looked at him as big players make big plays at big time games, and he got lost. Well, I started keeping track of him, watching this film. He's raw. He's a lot better, and he's a world-class sprinter. I mean, I'm talking about 6'5", and a 60. He's like literally one of those guys that he can play football and he can run, and that's typically not often. I don't like players from up north typically because they don't pan out in the South, but I think this one right here is going to be good. I could have said Akeem Dent, but I like Akeem Dent, but if he left, I wouldn't cry. I would understand, but I really want Travis J and this guy.
Love the conversation on college football and recruiting tonight with James Coleman from Fifth Quarter College Football and Sports Den Live. You got to check him out on his Twitter feed. You switched that up on us, didn't you?
Well, it's at Big Game James.
The Twitter handle.
No, it's still at Big Game James 36. I'm just trying to get people to understand that that's all my handles. So IG, hit me up on IG with that as well.
All right, that makes sense. I was going to say it's a chore to track you down these days in regards to finding you on my Twitter feed.
It used to say my full government name, but now I'm just like, nah, I'm Big Game James. That's easier to remember.
That's cool. All right, James, thanks for the breakdown, man. Would love to get you on here as soon as possible.
All right, no problem. Anytime.